far can we get if we sail a little bit high?
Park City, Utah. When Kelvin Harrison Jr. was younger, he thought he wanted to follow in the footsteps of his musician parents, a vocalist mother and a classically trained jazz saxophonist father. In that vein, he learned how to play the trumpet and piano. But the passion for music never quite kicked in. My dad pushed it a lot, so it didn't feel like me expressing myself, Harrison said. That turned me off, I guess. As for what turned him on to acting, he credits the 1959 film Imitation of Life. I don't know why, but I cried like a baby during that, he said. I didn't realize that such a response could come from a film, other than laughing at the Disney Channel. That made me realize I had way more to offer and had a lot of feelings that needed to be let out. Acting became that outlet. Years later, Harrison is a standout at the 2018 Sundance Film Festival with 3 films premiering. In one of those, Sam Levinson's Assassination Nation in the Midnight Section, he has a supporting role. But the other 2 powerful leading turns in Reynaldo Marcus Green's Monsters and Men, which premiered Friday, and Anthony Mandler's Monster, which premiered Monday, both in competition, already have festival audiences buzzing. In both pictures, Harrison embodies the quintessential young black male experience, coming of age in a world that has been historically guilty of stunting one's growth, chaining and caging young men of color into rigid ideas of existence. He not only delivers stellar performances but puts the industry on notice of his talent, both an ability to act well beyond his years and also to bring a picture its needed authenticity and subtlety. Echoing recent headlines, Monsters and Men follows 3 black men as their lives are impacted by the of another black man by a white police officer, a situation eerily similar to the ing of Eric Garner on July 17, 2014. Harrison plays Zyrick, a star high school athlete who's socially awakened by the incident. Meanwhile, Monster, adapted from Walter Dean Meyer's 1999 novel of the same name, chronicles the trial of Harrison's Steve Harmon, a 17-year-old honors student and aspiring filmmaker on trial for serving as lookout during an armed robbery of a Harlem bodega in which the store owner was Ed. The prosecutor Paul Ben Victor paints him as just another young black criminal, a monster. Steve and his lawyer Jennifer Ely declare his innocence. Monster was the first of the 3 pictures Harrison filmed. He auditioned for it in February 2016 because, he said, I had never seen a narrative of a young black boy that's super introverted, a free-thinking intellectual and an artist. But he admits the tape he submitted was terrible. After he hadn't heard back, the opportunity came to him once more after Avi Kaufman, the casting director from It Comes at Night, the post-apocalyptic horror film released last summer, signed on to Monster. She thought Harrison was a perfect fit. He initially declined. I think it's a beautiful role, so I want the best person to do it. So I said no, he said, thinking he couldn't pull it off. Kaufman was persistent, which led to a Skype call with Mandler and Harrison. We saw 50 Kids, said Mandler, a veteran commercial and music video director making his feature debut with Monster. It wasn't until Harrison that he saw the vulnerability and internal passion and drive needed to pull off the character. After Monster, Harrison filmed Monsters and Men, which he sees as the sequel or aftermath of what his monster character goes through. Green first reached out to the actor through Facebook after seeing a photo of him in another film. I was like, spam, Harrison remembered. Then, after he signed with WME, it was the first script the agency sent his way. I was blown away, he said about his first read. This story is so different and beautiful and human. Green had a similar response to Harrison. Through early footage of Monster that he had access to from Mandler and WME, the Monsters and Men filmmaker was able to catch a glimpse of what his potential lead could do. What I got was very limited but enough to know Kelvin would be a star with or without my film, he said. He just has it. It's rare. It's in his eyes and in his heart. Filming 2 such meaty roles, one right after the other, is something Harrison looks back on as the beginning of his own social awakening. My characters, they're recognizing the fact that what they look like and who they are and how people see that impact those people's perspectives of them, he said. I'm just having my awakening of that as well. I finished Monster and didn't know what to do with all these feelings, he continued. It was necessary for me to do Monsters and Men to dive into the next chapter, to explore me as Kelvin through Zyric. And through these roles, the 23-year-old discovered, in a way, his purpose. I realized that I was doing these films and it was my form of activism, he said. That's my form of conversation. I'm just a vessel. As such, Harrison's professional goal is to tell stories that matter to me, he said, and hopefully they mattered to other people. He referred back to Imitation of Life. It gave me a different perspective on life and who I was, and if I can do that for someone else, and keep growing by challenging myself, that makes me most happy, he said. Once I stop doing that, I need someone to tell me to retire.